Hello everyone, welcome to Data Ki Baat. So in the data-driven world, you do not get far away without master data. That's what our guest says. And then we have master data is the data in charge. And then we have one more from him. Master data is your most important data. And then finally, master data is the foundation of digital transformation. Yes, I am talking about the loudest whisperer of data, master data. So let's welcome our guest for today, Scott Taylor. Hey, Scott.
Hey, hi everybody. Here I am, the loudest whisperer, the loudest data whisperer out there. Nice to see you. Thanks for having me here on Master Your Data, Master Your Life. That's the way I look at it too.
Awesome. So, Scott, first of all, thank you very much for your acceptance to meet and then join this show where I talk to people, data fraternity, basically to really understand their experiences, their how they have been able to help their clients and then whoever they work with, and various ways and means they have been able to really help them and make them successful. So our whole discussion today is definitely the core topic is master data, and we would like to just go with you in this journey together, and we'll see how you have seen data master data from your eyes, right?
Sure.
So I think the first thing that I thought I would bring up in this call is right. Mostly when we talk about data, we and data story, right? What we think is that it is all about visualization, analytics, and most of the time people talk about tools and technologies, right? Uh, what is data storytelling means to you, and how you have been able to convey the message?
About master data? Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't talk about the tools. I don't talk about the analytics. I do only in terms of, you know what? None of that stuff works unless you've got that good quality foundational content underneath it, which is why, as you quoted me before, master data is your most important data. It's the data in charge of your
Mhm.
business. That's the way I look at it.
Great. So you have your own method, framework when it comes to telling master data story, or let me call it for the sake of simplicity, data storytelling in general, right?
Mm.
So would you like to talk about that? And let's go through that so that people understand that it is not always about what just what you said, right? I mean, it's not always about technology, tools, but it is mostly how the way you are conveying the message, your language, the phrases and then vocabulary you are trying to use is important. So
Certainly if you're trying to get the support and engagement of the business side, which
mhm,
everybody on the data in the database in the data space should be trying to do, because those are the folks who are actually going to use that data to help
right,
drive the business, grow the business, improve the business, protect the business. And I think the
mhm,
words and terminology you use are really important when you talk to C-level leadership, when you talk to enterprise stakeholders, because they don't care about the technology as much. They don't care about the process as much. They don't care about, your newest reference data architecture. They care about what the results are that they're going to get out of whatever you're sharing with them.
mhm,
So,
mhm,
it's basic storytelling. I think storytelling is, it's as old as people trying to just talk to each other and share experiences. And just looking across the data space, the technology space, I don't think there's anything hotter, non-technical, hotter than
mhm,
storytelling in general. And data
right,
storytelling is a white hot category right now.
mhm, yes,
But I look at data storytelling, when I look at it, almost all of it is about analytics. It's
mhm,
about
yeah,
using data. It's stories with data. How do you take
mhm,
this insight and then create a compelling message to get the business to take action?
right,
I agree with all that, obviously. I just think
mhm,
there's room for another kind of storytelling, or a different piece of that storytelling, which is telling stories about the data, why
yeah,
data is important to the organization to begin with. And
great.
if you don't have the about data story down,
Mhm,
and you don't have the funding to do proper data management, then the stories with data aren't going to have the effect that they should, because they're not going to be built on and based on great data.
So basically, it's all coming down to the message that you got to really understand that why are you doing what you're doing with your data, right? Rather than thinking that how do you want to do that? Because once your why is very clear, you might probably end up really making sure that you are really getting it done, right? That's what the crux of the message is, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
absolutely. Yeah, you got to have both. I mean, I characterize myself as the why. I'm not the how. You got to have both.
Definitely.
But what I've found in my experience is, if the leadership and the business side don't understand the why, don't really just internalize and accept and agree with the why, they don't care about the how. They don't care how you're doing it. And a lot of folks on the technology side and practitioners, they've got great expertise, they've got great technique, and they tend to want to get really deep into how they did it. So there's a place for that. That's implementation, that's execution, that's when you're trying to move these programs forward on the data management, the data management space and analytics and so on. But the business, they can't get into those details. They just don't have the patience. They don't have the interest, nor should they. And they don't have the aptitude. It's a different thing. So I sit kind of in the middle of sort of the technical and the data folks and the business side, and trying to help translate these concepts in easily accessible ways that resonate with a business leader.
Right. So there is already a chaos, right? I mean, when it comes to data, everybody kind of start with, hey, it is so much. There is so much volume. There is so much variety, and all those good characteristics of data, right? And you claim yourself to be like you calm the data, right? So basically, and definitely it's like a chaos. There is uncertainty. There is like a, people are not able to really use it for the value that it has to offer. So what do you mean when you say that you are basically helping organization calm that data piece or calm this chaos, right? What is
Calm
that?
the data down. Yeah. I mean, I really use that kind of as a metaphor, kind of poetically, as my personal brand, the data whisperer. As you mentioned, I'm the loudest
Yes.
data whisperer out there. Don't do much
Yes.
whispering. But the idea is, whispering, horse whispering, dog whispering, it's all to help manage things in sort of a mysterious way. And so for me, it felt like a nice way to convey the value and the power of data management. I mean, data management is calming data down, right? I mean, everything we do today turns to data, and enterprises of all sizes are struggling to try and make sense of all this data. I look at it and say, okay, there's three things they're trying to do. They're trying to figure out ways to grow the business, improve the business, and protect the business. And those three buckets, grow, improve, protect, are pretty much most of what most data should be for most of the time for most of the business. And I say most because a lot of people, I get picked on every once in a while. I don't mind it, but we're all, I put myself out there, so I expect people to give me, criticism and pokes and every once in a while. So there's always a side case, an outlier. What about if this, and I go, okay, but most of the time, most of what your business is about is growing, improving, protecting, and most of the data that you need for that is around the master data domains that are representing what your business is all about. Master data domain, customer, vendor, partner, prospect, brand, offering, product, things you make, the people you buy from and sell to and you partner with, and all that's what your business is all about. It's about the relationships of your business. And if the data about your relationships isn't good, then your relationships are probably not going to be that good either.
That's really awesome way of putting it together. I mean, that's where I kind of again recall, right? It's all comes down to your life, and that's how I say, right? Master your data, master your life. So
Master
basically,
your life, yes.
yeah. So basically, it's all about relationship, right? I mean, your partners, your suppliers, and everybody else that you want to do business with, you got to really understand them better, understand them well, understand them full, right? It
Yeah.
has to be a full 360 view of them. Then you really know that, okay, what they might be going through, what they are thinking, and what they might probably do. Based upon that, you can do your business very well with them.
Yeah, I
That's a
mean, business is about relationships. Again, boiling it down to like the absolute atomic level. You don't have relationships, you don't have a business. So that's the focus. That's the
right.
focus for me. So I was going to take a look and see if I can see if people are chatting here or giving us any kind of feedback. I think I'm frozen. Sorry, but anyway, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. So what I was getting to, I mean, before we, it's we understand, right? You talked about the importance of it, why it is needed, and there is a lot of talk. I mean, obviously, there is a lot of good people in the data fraternity, and they really do talk about the importance of data as such, right? But when it comes to really doing the action, I see more of the talk rather than action. And then when I say talk, most specifically, I see it is full filled with the technical talk and not the strategic discussion, right? So, I mean, how do you? I mean, how can we help get the talk into a right direction so that it is not finally become a tech talk and then not the actual data talk? Because it is
Yeah, it's the storytelling part. I mean, it's recognizing why you're doing it. So
absolutely
these, data science, data man, analytics, artificial intelligence. The reason you do that is to support the business.
absolutely
And, my counsel to a lot of the folks in that part of the space is you got to learn about your business and
Mhm.
even to start to think about your role as being the business. There's this demarcation that people talk about a lot between
Right.
IT and the business, or data and the business, or analytics and the business. And it's like, well, it's all the business. Now I get
Mhm.
the business people are on the line, their marketing, their sales, their executives, and so on. But
Right.
I think there's a way to just at least emotionally embrace the idea. Look, we are all the business. If you work
Right.
at a company, you are part of that business. And it is impossible for you to learn too much about your business. So,
Right.
any advice out there, free advice from me is, if you're a data scientist, learn your
Mhm.
business. You got to learn it, steep in it. It's, you got to have the practitioner skills. You've got to be able to do the coding and the programming, the analytics and the data munging and all the rest of it. But learn about your business. Talk to a salesperson, talk to a marketing person, talk to a finance person, get into their head, understand where their problems are, where their challenges are, what their aspirations are. You'll
Right.
pretty good chance that you'll have data or a methodology or an idea that can help them.
Right.
But
Right.
hear what those issues are first,
Mhm.
because it'll just have that much more impact.
Correct. So you have a really nice way of putting this complex topic together. I can
Thanks.
recall very well your puppet. You basically brought the whole thing that we are trying to discuss, and many more people might have discussed in past in that 3 minutes of video, right? So I really like that concept, right? So when you say it has to be basically ingrained to the organization level. I mean, not to the CDO as such, but everybody involved with the data, right? So I personally like that message. I like that video. How was your response? Because it kind of shows up the reality, and then people might not like it sometime. That hey, I mean, this guy is really telling the truth, and maybe you are trying to tell in a very witty way. How was people response? Because I'm just passing that up there. If you see, right?
It,
so
w-
so
it was
it's like I
it was all positive. Everybody loved the video. Everybody loved it. So yeah, it was a big hit. People liked it. This is kind of, I'm the ITB here, and I don't have to deal with the data. IT is information technology. That's the point. So it's
awesome,
it was a
awesome.
blast. I mean, it was so much fun to do that, and I did it in my little studio right here, actually here, at
Mhm.
Data Whisperer World Headquarters, and I had a ball. Yeah, and I got more episodes to come. I'm working on a cat sultant. Okay,
Oh.
so from Meow Kinsey, who will do
Uh-huh.
nothing but just like dazzle you with all these things you're supposed to do, and a typical. So I got plenty of consultant jokes there, and
Great. Yeah.
I'm working on all kinds. I got a tool script that I'm working on where the tools come out. They're going to try and look at different tools, and
Mhm.
sort of playing a little bit with Salesforce and Microsoft, and I'm going to call them utensils. So there'll be Sales Fork and Micro
Mhm.
Spoon, and we'll see
Mhm.
how that goes. And it's a little bit corny, but
Great.
people seem to like it. And you got to get it in 20, 50 countries, wherever it goes. But that one video of the puppets, that was the highest viewed thing I had ever done on LinkedIn. It's still I put it out last November, and immediately 3 people reached out to me and wanted to use it in a conference somewhere. So people used it. One guy was presenting at Gartner, and he used it
Mhm.
and he played it at Gartner, which I thought was hysterical. And you
Wow.
just kind of try and have a little fun and be on point, because a lot of people said to me, probably the most popular reaction I got, which was a surprise, was, "This is my life. This is what I deal with
Wow.
every day." And I'm like, it's a puppet, right? This is your life right here. And it's like, yeah, that's my life. That's what people say that all the time. You must have been listening to our conversation. So it was fun.
That's really great. I mean, so that's what I meant, and that's the reason I am bringing this topic up, right? That's that's what we are meaning when we are talking about storytelling, because you are able to convey the message, you are able to convey the complexity behind in a very simple manner, so that people do realize that, hey, unknowingly this is what I am doing, and probably we should not be, right? So that's where, I mean, I think one of the things that we talk, right? I mean, how do you make sure that your conversation comes to data, the focus is on data and management rather than anything that is surrounding it, and then you can probably go back to the technology. So that's get me to a very important and close to my heart topic is, right, golden triangle. I do discuss with everybody that I talk to, right, because that's core to me, and I think mostly people will believe that people, process, and technology is something that if you set right, probably you can conquer everything else, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. But I mean, I would suggest it's more of a golden square if you want, or a diamond, because there's
mhm,
people, process, technology, and data. So I put data on there. And so when I talk
mhm,
about it, and you got to add the data separate from technology. And that, I think,
right.
is one of the more exciting organizational things that have happened in the
Mhm,
last few
mhm,
years, is
mhm,
that people are recognizing that data is not technology,
mhm,
that it should be looked at separately. It's
mhm,
obviously connected. All software needs data, all data needs software. They're,
mhm,
inextricably linked, but they are separate. And that's opened a lot of people's eyes to having to understand it. And, it seems crazy for decades for people to just think that IT handled the data because it's electronic and it's on computers,
mhm,
and the business sort of divorcing themselves from it, or kind of holding it at bay a little bit, and then the IT side saying, well, it's really technology that we deal with, the data
correct.
decisions have to be made by the business. And that
Mhm,
kind of like, who had the ball, has been going on for a long time. And so the
right.
evolution of, the CDO is probably the best personification and recognition of, okay,
Mhm,
data is its own thing.
mhm,
And so being a data guy for decades, that's really exciting, because it's its own thing now. It should be a department. It's as important as sales is, as marketing, as finance, as legal, as operations, as technology. There is also data. And,
I think that got to the very, very, I would say, important question, and seems like there is an answer to it, right now. And I do discuss this as well, that, right, I mean, whose data is this anyway? I mean, that has been a biggest question forever, and people have been really talking about it. You know that, and it is always that, okay, who owns it, right? And then you brought a very important point here, is that is basically has to be a central, I would say, department, or separate, I would say, entity out there in the organization, which kind of takes the ownership of the data, so that we are kind of eliminating those long lasting questions which has probably not been answered so far very clearly, like we are having it here, right? So
Yeah.
are you recommending that we do not, basically we come out of this game of saying that okay, you own it and I own it, and then probably create something where data is central, and there is somebody like you said, CDO or maybe somebody who kind of say that hey, I own this and now I drive this. What
There's a lot of talk about ownership. Ownership is kind of a trigger word out there, so I don't want to
right.
bleed into pretending that I'm going to make an organizational recommendation or observation. And so ownership of data, customer definition, product specification, where does all that go? I also would shy away from, I kind of have to stay in my lane to a certain extent. Like, is it central? Is it federated? It's not about the architecture. So what I think it is about is that data is a thing.
Yeah.
It's a defined, separate thing than technology. Start there. And know that the characteristics of it, the organization of it, the management of it needs to be looked at separate from the other departments, the other functional areas in an enterprise.
Right.
I'd love to see data just be a department. Data is a department. There's a buddy of mine, Robert Vane, writes about this. He's probably on here somewhere. I'll watch this. He wrote this great article called, data should be its own department. That was basically his thesis.
Right.
He compared it to finance.
Yes.
Nobody questions finance, right? You ever hear anybody question, like, why do we have finance? Why do we have financial management? What do we need finance for? Data is as important as finance. And it has this enabling ability to work and support and bring value to every other part of the organization.
Yep.
And so it should get its own focus. That's why, a CDO. Again, I'm not an organizational guy. There's a lot of consultants out there who will talk and have much better expertise in that. But I don't even think, a CDAO, Chief Data Analytics Officer, I think that confuses the issue too. So you don't have analytics without data. And if I had to pick one that's more important, I think data is more important than analytics. You can quote me on that if you want. People will probably get all crazy about it, but there's no meal if you don't have the food. So, and data is really the food part, the ingredients part. You need the chef, you need the kitchen, you need the meal organization, you need people to be satisfied by the meal. But healthy business needs healthy data, just like a healthy body needs good food. And those kind of analogies to me feel more accessible and more relevant than, let's say, data's the new oil, so it's so I try and speak in that kind of language. That makes sense.
I think this metaphors, I do talk about that as well. That's really bringing a great point there, right? In one of my last talk, I talked about that. That do we the intention is very clear that we want to say that hey, data is really important. So we kind of attach it to everything possible. I mean, everything related to life as possible. Like it is an oil. I have heard oxygen. I have heard water, and so on. Right. I think the intention is to really say that it is important. But I said right. I mean, when it comes to action, we kind of do not seems to be really doing and really making and showing that it does really indeed important to us, because there is a lot of talk than action when it comes to data, because that's a topic that we talk about, but everybody talks about okay, this is oil and oxygen and good things, right? But I still see that there is a chaos, right? So how do you, I mean, in your experience working with so many organizations and helping them with the data, right? What are the couple of things that you say? I mean, very simple way, right? That okay, this if you do this couple of things, maybe you will be on track to make your data work. I mean, I know it is a small talk to really discuss everything, but couple of things.
I don't say it to everything. I say again, it's like get the master data right. Get it right.
Mm-hmm.
Get
Mm-hmm.
and within master data,
Mm-hmm.
get the hierarchies correct, get the
Mm-hmm.
taxonomies and segmentation aligned, get the
Mm-hmm.
geographic definitions formalized, and
Mm-hmm.
get the data as much as possible, uniquely identify and authenticate the identity of every entity so you don't
Mm-hmm.
have a bunch of duplicates. And I call that the 4 C's of master data. You need a code on everything. You need a company on everything. You need a category on everything. And just because they all start with C, you need a country or some form of geography. And if you put those 4 things on there, code,
Mm-hmm.
company, category, country, you know where everything is, you know what it is, you know who owns it, and you know it's unique.
Right.
And there's
Right.
a lot of data problems go
Mm-hmm.
away if you've got those basic elements. And doesn't sound super sexy, doesn't sound exciting. Some people think it's actually dull, but if you
No,
have a
no.
segmentation, if your go to
It's
market is all about industry verticals
right.
and you're
Right.
going after specific verticals and sub verticals and channels, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't have that segmentation populated on, let's say, your prospect file, then you're
Mm-hmm.
kidding yourself. Okay. So if, half the file says other on it or miscellaneous, you don't
Mm-hmm.
have a segmentation plan. You don't have a segmentation initiative that's going to be effective at all. And,
Right.
so I draw it back to that. I mean, you can look at somebody's stuff. I spent a lot of time when I was representing and selling actual data services. I'd spend a
Right.
lot of time looking at people's data, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
right there. It's like, here's the 52 ways you spell Coca-Cola. Here's IBM spelled every possible way you can, International Business Machines. You got 12 ways you spell a country. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like you're done. It's checkmate. You look at that stuff and go, I don't care about your data science team and all these fancy analytics and this wonderful visualization tool you bought and all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
Your data sucks. So you got to fix that first. Master your data, master your life. So there you go.
So I think that's I mean, again, one, as you said, right, it might sound dull to people, but simplicity still has a lot of power. I mean, that's what I truly believe, because when you are able to set the basic right, and then basically you will be on the journey towards really achieving the desired value out of your data. I think all the CDOs, right, all the data professionals, they are tasked with what they've been asked that, okay, hey, use our organization data and help us extract the value out of it. And how do you get the value unless you basically make that data clean, no duplicates, categorization that you said, classification that you just talked about. I think those are the basic steps, and then that's what I was really looking for, instead of really understanding that, hey, let's follow some certain framework, and let's go and then follow some 10 steps and have your data governance or something. Basically, when you say somebody that, hey, let's put data governance, I feel that it is like really overwhelming. You got to start at some logical chunk, or logical, I would say, small chunk where you can do it and see the progress, see the wins, quick wins, and then probably you feel excited and go and do something more bigger than that. Otherwise, I mean, I personally felt that it is like overwhelming when you really talk 10,000 things and people say, oh, where do I start? Again, the
Yeah,
question remains same, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so I think that's a very simple way of putting it, to the people.
yeah.
So,
And that's been part
so
of the problem with master data, MDM from the beginning, when it first
right.
came out.
Mhm.
And I've been working in the data business before the MDM was a term, before that package software came out that was really there to master data. There were still masters, right? There was a customer chart of accounts. There was, I'd suggest that master data is the oldest kind of data too. It's just a big
Yeah.
fancy list of things.
Mhm.
But people tried to do the classic ocean boiling and, okay, I'm going to do
Yes.
everything. And I got 9 million attributes. And, Gartner, all the experts will say, it's like,
Mhm.
what should you master for an enterprise? As little as you can get away with, right? So
Yeah.
it's, and that's why I call these 4 C's. It may not be 4 attributes, but it's 4
Mhm.
kind of little nuggets or groupings or whatever you want to call it:
Right. Right.
identification, segmentation, ownership, and geography.
Right. That's the really nice. I think the simplest and easiest way to start. Basically, it helps you put your focus at certain place. Maybe you can. So it's basically slicing the entire problem, horizontally, so that you're basically touching all the areas. I mean, there are two ways to really deal with the problem. One, that you basically take it vertically, or you slice it, horizontally. So what would happen is that you basically touch all the problems, get a small piece, work on that, solve the problem, and then implement it everywhere else. So it would be really a good thing to try with your suggestion here, right? That's a great way of looking at it. Yeah. So
I'm all about the horizontal. I'm the horizontal guy. So,
right.
verticals, horizontal, silos, foundation, columns, and a row. I mean, a row and columns. Another way I explain it to business folks, just think about rows and columns. People are really good at columns. They're not good at rows.
Mm-hmm.
Columns are easy, rows are hard. Columns are problems, rows are solutions. So it's that horizontal value. And data is a horizontal, just like technology, just like finance. Those are horizontal disciplines across an organization, and they touch all of them. Yeah.
I mean, this came just in my mind, that I was approached, and when you are on LinkedIn and you're doing something around data, people do get to ping you and then ask certain questions, right? So I was just talking to one of the person, and then I explained that. So there was a scope issue, right? They were not really understanding that how and where to start, and I suggested that, hey, let's not try to boil the ocean. Basically, you have to pick something which you have a wider reach. It is touching your each of area possibly, and how do you do that? You have to slice it horizontally. I mean, if you really go by the vertical, you can't make it. You would not be able to take a very holistic decision if you really take this vertically. You have to slice it out horizontally. And thanks for endorsing that whole thought process here. I think it did help them. They were able to really understand what I was talking about, and they in fact implemented that piece.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great this thing. So today morning when I woke up, right? I mean, I had this. I don't know why it came, but yeah, it came like data lake, a failed love story. I don't know why this came. I woke up. I woke up with this. You call it as a maybe a phrase, or what? I mean, a one-liner. And I want to go and expand this on the LinkedIn. But I thought, since I'm talking to you, the loudest data whisperer, I just wanted to share that with you right here, right? It is mostly a failed love story for every, mostly. I'll not say everybody. It would be too much harsh over there. I would be, but it is like failed love story for everyone. So my intention was that once you hear this one liner, what is that is coming in your mind? And I'm going to ask this question to all my LinkedIn after this, maybe today sometime, and I'll ask everybody in my network to really put their one liner video if possible. That when they hear, right, data lake of failed love story, what is that is coming in your mind?
I mean,
Start.
just for me, it's another chapter in the many failed love stories of people thinking a certain technology is going to solve all the problems. So, a data lake, in my limited technical understanding, is just another place to put data, right? So
Yes.
if it was like a data warehouse before that, and a database before that, and cloud now and all the rest of it, these are just places. You put the data in that place. If the data isn't structured right, and the data isn't managed correctly, and the data isn't governed well, then all you've done is taken all your unmanaged, poorly structured content, and you've thrown it all in one place. And the failed part of it, I think, is people believe, unfortunately, that if I put everything I've got in one place, it will magically make all that stuff better. And it doesn't. So it's like if I rented a U-Haul storage area, and I took all the junk out of my basement and my attic and my kids' room and a bunch of closets, and I threw it all in this storage bin, I didn't make it any better. I put it all in one place. So now all my stuff I only have to go to one place for it, but it's not organized. I didn't sort out all the books. I didn't put all the toys together. I didn't throw out the stuff that I should have thrown out. And there's this impression, same thing with cloud. Oh, we're going to take all the data and put it in the cloud. That doesn't make it better. You just now everybody can get access to the crap you had scattered all over the place. So the part that people, I think, miss for some reason is that you still got to do that hard work. That doesn't automatically manage data for you. It doesn't govern the data for you. It makes it theoretically easier because you only go to one place, I guess. But what's the next thing? A fabric mesh or whatever the next thing is. And I don't mean to sound, demeaning to any of that stuff. It's wonderful enabling technology. But if I buy a $5,000 stove and I don't know how to cook, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter
how good the stove is, right? I wasted money on a stove. So yeah, and whatever the next thing is going to be, right? There's going to be a next thing. My view is, and again, I take it from just purely militantly from the data side and the data content side and the master data side. Hardware comes and goes. Software comes and goes. Data remains. And so you've got to keep that in mind. Deal with the hardware, cloud, whatever, deal with the software. I'm not saying it's not important, but those things will change and come and go. And the newest, coolest, hottest thing 2 years ago will be something that none of us ever heard of yet.
Right.
Because look at the hottest, coolest stuff now. Where were they 2 years ago? Where were they 3 years ago? But the data is still here.
Right. So again, we came back to the life, right? I mean, so what do you value most? The people who are going to be in your life forever, right? So here is what you brought, right? I mean, the hardware will go, software will go, but what remains here with you forever is going to be data. So why not value the data more than the software and then technology? I mean, I'm a hardcore technologist as well. I do a lot of technological stuff, but if you really ask me, that comes last. That really comes last to me. And you rightly said, right? And thanks for answering the question to my one-liner. And I'm gonna really take the clip out of this video and start that. Hey, this is what Scott has answered. How about you? So let's see how many people kind of quickly answer in couple of lines that hey, what do they feel about this one-liner? Data lake of failed love story. Now coming back to your one point that I picked here, right? So and this is my favorite quote which I write. So data doesn't govern itself. Data does not protect itself. Data does not clean itself. Basically, there are people. People drive data. That's the whole idea, right? So we have to think about people and then probably process and then technology. And you brought the other aspect, right? The golden square. I will always remember this.
Diamond. You can call it a diamond if you want. Depends on how. You...
Absolutely. I mean, so thanks for that. That perspective here. So there are now 3-4 things, right? People, process, technology, and data. So
that's the way I look at it. Yeah. That's the way I look at it. So.
Great way of putting it. So and that's really eye opener here. I mean, though we have been talking, but I didn't think that now it can be square, and then we have to also consider that very well, right?
Cool.
Great. So I know we are kind of close at time, and it has been really fantastic talking to you so far. One thing that I do want to really understand, whoever I talk to, and with you, right? It makes even more important. Why? Because you have been really you have spent a lot of time. You said I think more than a decade, and then more, right? Working with the companies as well as consulting. So when it comes to and there is always an experience when you deal with people, right? What are some of your Scott wisdoms that you kind of carry, and then you simply say, no matter what, wherever, right? That comes quickly in your mind, which you kind of say that kind of talk about your brand. So some Scott wisdoms, and then we can wrap it up for today.
Okay, yeah. So the things that I often say, okay, master data is your most important data. Data in charge of your business. Structured data works harder than unstructured data. Good decisions made on bad data are just bad decisions you don't know about yet. So there you go. You got them all. You got them all up here. And you got to determine the truth first before you derive any meaning. So those are, there's another master right in charge there. So I try to come up with these kind of sound bites and
Yes.
try and make them a little memorable, try to be, put some passion into it and say it like I mean it, because I do. And these kind of things just help me, again, try and simplify the message. And something I want to say about simple, we've talked about trying to make things simple.
Make them simple. Yeah.
I learned from, basically a Zen master in business about simple. He taught me kind of the principles of simple. And the most important thing he said about it is simple doesn't mean easy. Okay.
Oh.
So simple can be very difficult to manage and do, but you've got to keep it in mind, because simple can, really expand and make a concept very accessible. But it doesn't, and there's a balance too between being simple and being simplistic, which is, kind of doesn't have enough emphasis to it. But simple doesn't mean easy, and that always stuck with me. Simple's hard.
That simple is hard. That, I think, lot of insight, lot of aha moment for me, and I'm sure I didn't really see, and count it, but yeah, this video will obviously be available to people, and they can always interact with it. At this moment here, it's like 6:41 a.m. morning.
Right,
So
same way. It's like, right, it's 9
I'm not
11 here
expecting a
too,
lot of people.
10 after 9 in Connecticut.
Yes.
But the
Yep.
sun never
But
sets on LinkedIn, so somebody somewhere is gonna bump into
somewhere
this.
you're
Yeah.
gonna definitely benefit out of this. And as a host, right, I make sure that there is a theme to the discussion. And I see that we came to a very we started with storytelling, and we are ending with the storytelling. And the biggest component, and I think the critical component of the storytelling, is the simplicity. And I'm glad that we kind of circled on where we started. And I've been really blessed and happy. And then most probably that people who would listen to this might just be having those aha moments that I had here talking to you, Scott, around this storytelling simplicity. I'm gonna clip this couple of talk. I mean, small things from here, and then share with people, because those were the very insightful statements that came out, and I am sure people somewhere would need those help, right? And that's what we are here to do, help
Yep.
by sharing our knowledge, and invite discussion, conversation, right? We are very open about that. So let us know, how did you feel about this talk today? Let me and Scott ping, budge, ask your question, and then we will take it from there.
Sure.
So thank you very much, Scott, and thank you very much, everyone, for watching.
Thank you, Sanjeev. It was great to see you. Thanks it's wonderful talking halfway around the world, and we're, all united by data. And I love your slogan too: master your data, master your life. So
thank you very much, Scott, for this. So thanks very much, and talk to you very soon. Bye bye, everyone.